This is TLV1.
The Tel Aviv Review.
Hello and welcome to the Tel Aviv Review, a program dedicated to the word, the thought and debate, brought to you by the Van Leer Jerusalem Institute, which promotes humanistic, democratic and liberal values in the social discourse in Israel. First of all, if you like us, please join our community of supporters by giving to our Patreon campaign. You'll find it on our website. I am your host, Gilad Halpern.
And I'm your co-hostess, Dahlia Shenlin. Every week we'll be talking about books and research and other things that have caught our attention. Sometimes we even go beyond books, and today we'll be talking about the television show that everybody else is talking about. Of course, I'm referring to Fauda. This is the Israeli television show about a unit of Israeli special forces who go undercover to fight Palestinian terrorists, but it's also about the Palestinians on the other side of the wall. Families, politicians, terrorists, rogues, doctors, informers, and civilians, and gives us a good picture onto both sides. The co-creators are Avi Issacharoff and Lior Raz. Avi Issacharoff is with us here in the studio today. He is a longtime journalist covering Palestinian and Arab affairs, Israel and the Middle East, first with Israel Radio, then as reporter and analyst for Haaretz, and now with Walla News and the Times of Israel. He's published 2 books together with security reporter and analyst Amos Harel on the Second Intifada and the Second Lebanon War. But now what he really does is live the life of a Hollywood celebrity. Avi Issacharoff, remember us on your way up, and welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you very much.
It's hard to know where to start asking about Fauda because I see in it many things. I see an action series, I see a psychological drama, a deep dive into the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, sometimes even romantic intrigues like a soap opera, also a bilingual, bicultural experiment in television, and what looks like a massive expose of the secret tactics of Israel's secret special forces. What do you think was the main goal that you had in mind when you and Lior Raz were creating this series?
I would say a major expose of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, not necessarily the Israeli special forces. I've been telling the story of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict from the eyes of the Israeli special forces. That would be my focus, but also, then again, from the Palestinian side. At the end, I don't think that many Israelis do get the picture, do get the feeling of how is it like to be a Hamas wanted terrorist, or how is it like to be an Israeli special forces undercover, etc. So what we try to do, Leo and I, is to give them a feeling, to give them a hint, to give them kind of a glance or a look into the other side. And it's not that easy in Israel these days. And it seems like mission impossible because no one wanted it at the beginning. But then after a while, we were very surprised to see the warm welcoming to this show and the openness that we saw in people in Israel whom are usually not that open to the other side.
But do you think they appreciated the show because they were interested in the other side or because they were glorifying the Israeli heroes of the show? After all, most of it is from the point of view of the Israeli special unit.
I cannot say that, it's glorifying the Israeli side.
Okay.
I cannot say that it's glorifying the Palestinian side. I mean, you see Israeli undercover soldiers doing things that you wouldn't imagine and you wouldn't want to see Israeli special forces doing, like executing people, like murdering people. And these things, we thought that we would be judged and hanged in the town circle, but in Kikar HaMedina, if to be specific. But at the end, it didn't happen. I mean, people were, maybe because of its drama, and it gave them a kind of a feeling, okay, this is not for real. So it gave them a kind of, okay, if it's in drama and it's a TV show, so we can see that, we can watch that, and we can even affiliate with the Hamas terrorists.
But I have to say, no. Wait, this is like too fascinating because, we also had Ronen Bergman on this show about his book, which exposes terrible things that are not fiction. And I thought that it was going to get a lot of criticism, but I think in the end, most of the Israeli and Jewish audience that read the book said, awesome, how great we are. What do you think? Maybe Israelis just like to see exactly what's really going on and think this is great that we're protecting ourselves this way.
Not really. I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, there are specific scenes that you watch and you feel so uncomfortable. You as an Israeli, you feel so terrible that this is what happened and this is what they're doing. I don't think that it can make an Israeli feel, wow, how great we are. We just executed one bastard or one terrorist. This is not the case. We're talking about terrible things that these guys are doing, and I don't want to give any kind of spoilers to any one of the people that are listening to us that didn't see the show, not on the first season, not on the second one. But you showed the ugliness and the beauty in both sides, and I think that this is what we try to do more than anything else.
Okay, before we get into the next question, I just want to make sure we have a promotion that the second season is about to be released on May 24th on Netflix. So,
and now I get to my question. And the first thing that I wanted to know is, how real is it? I mean, how authentic is it to the actual work of the Mistaravim, of that unit that actually goes and immerses itself in the Palestinian society? But then again, it's a TV show and you had to dramatize things. Tell us a bit about this process of balancing between telling the story as it is, giving an insight into the Arab-Israeli conflict, and as you said, and the creative need, or maybe the commercial need, to produce what is, at the end of the day, a very good action show.
There's an ongoing war, I would call it, between us, the creators, the script writer, the whole team. We have kind of a team of writers, a writer's room that is debating and arguing about how fictional or how realistic does it need to be. I think that I am leading the hawkish camp of saying this needs to be as close as possible to reality. Some other people, that I won't mention the name, but are saying that, look, this is drama, this is script, so we should look for what's good, what's the best for the script. And I'm saying, listen, people that are watching this show are watching it because it's so realistic and it gives them a sense of realism. So at the end, it's somewhere in between.
Can you give us an example of one case, like one scene that you were debated and, which way the balance was tipped?
Without any spoilers.
Yeah, I can give you almost the last scene of the first episode of season 1 with the wedding scene. Now, it's not really realistic that undercover soldiers would come dressed up as waiters into a wedding. But we do know that undercover soldiers came to all kinds of events dressed up as normal people, as regular people, not as waiters necessarily. So at the end of the day, we took it a step forward. I mean, it's not that realistic, but we gave a sense for everyone around us that, wow, are they doing these kinds of stuff? So no, the answer is no. They're not dressed up as waitress and waiters and giving pastry to the people, or cakes or cookies. This is not the case. But they do go dressed up or dressed as undercover soldiers into all kinds of events, like ceremonies, like funerals, and even sometimes weddings.
Now, of course, the real question is, how do you guys know all this realistic stuff? I've read that Lior Raz actually served in the Special Forces. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And so is this information mostly from his knowledge of being there in those Special Forces, or from your material that you've gathered over years of being a journalist and reporting on, I assume, related things?
I guess that then again, the answer would be both, meaning both our experiences as soldiers on the ground, as people that were following and reporting about the Palestinian side. I've been covering the Palestinian side for the last 18 years, and it gives you a lot of experiences, a lot of understanding and knowledge about what's going on the other side. Most of the things that the average Israelis are not aware of, not willing to be aware of. So, of course, it gives you better perspective, knowledge, understanding. You can get the narrative as it is. You do not need some kind of a negotiator or mediator from somewhere, whether it's from the US or from Israel, to give you the knowledge. You're there. You meet with Hamas, Fatah, Palestinian Authority, just civilians, just normal people, economy, education, everything that you can imagine. The last 18 years, I think that, yes, I've been there a lot.
What about the military censor? Does this have to go through military censor, like regular news?
No,
none.
Not at all.
So even though a lot of this stuff is based on very realistic tactics and methods, I mean, to my mind, it seems like an expose. Gee, now I know how special forces work. Nobody seems to mind?
Not really. I don't think so. I don't think that, an average Palestinian that would watch the show would be surprised and shocked. Maybe you will, as an Israeli. But for the average Palestinian, this is the reality that they've been living in, meaning they have undercover soldiers coming every Monday and Wednesdays.
And they know, they're aware of it.
They know how do they get there, the cars. Sometimes they even know the cars. Sometimes they know the dress code. Sometimes they check in order to see who's an undercover and who's not. So the knowledge, the info of on the Palestinian side about the undercover soldiers is much bigger than the Israeli side.
Have you had any feedback from Palestinian viewers? You said that you were surprised how receptive they were to the show. Is it really the same sentiment that you get from Palestinians?
I wouldn't say that it's the same sentiment. Look, of course, for most of the Palestinians that are watching the show, first of all, I would say that they like it. B, it's not the same reaction as in the Israeli side. I think that the Palestinians, it's a very, very interesting experience to see a show like that. Sometimes they do feel sympathetic for the Israeli side. Sometimes they feel sympathy for the undercover soldiers even. Sometimes they want to be like an undercover soldier. It's kind of a 007, even if you're a Russian KGB, so you want to feel like the 007 British intelligence, okay? So it reminds me of a real story that happened to me while we were shooting the second season of Fauda in Kfar Kasem, and one of the young people that were there just, I don't know, a resident of Kfar Kasem came over there, watched while we were shooting, and then at some point he asked me, can I play in Fauda? So I asked him, what do you want to be? Do you want to be a Hamas guy, a PA? And he said, no, I want to be an undercover soldier. So
we should also specify.
Happens. But I'm sure that, there are some Palestinians that wouldn't like the show. I'm sure that there are some Palestinians that would say, hey, this is not like in reality. I've heard some TV critics, I've heard some authors that are saying, well, this is not showing the real face of occupation, the bad occupation as it is. There are no checkpoints, there are no this, there are no that. And then when you read that and you think about it a little bit, you understand that there are some checkpoints. There is the occupation, and I think that the story that we're telling is the story of the occupation, but from another perspective. We don't scream every episode, occupation, 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 but what you get as an Israeli, it's a slap in your face, a big slap in your face about the occupation.
I wanted to specify for our listeners who may not know that the show is shot in Kfar Kasem, which is an Arab city inside the Green Line. And so we're talking about Arab residents who are coming up to you and saying, we want to play the part of the double agent. I am curious about why Palestinian viewers would sympathize with the undercover soldiers.
Why would people in, the US, Australia, New Zealand, Iraq, Lebanon, Kuwait. I guess that's something that we did. I don't know what exactly, but something that we did was good. Meaning just like an Israeli can sympathize with a Hamas terrorist or with his wife or with his kid, sometimes it works both ways. Meaning that even a Palestinian can sympathize with an Israeli undercover soldier. And this is the power of drama. This is the power of a script. When you give an undercover soldier words that you can affiliate with, words like general words like I love you, it means everything. You can understand, you can relate to I love you, even if it's in Arabic or Hebrew or Yiddish or Kurdish. At the end of the day, you as a human being, you can relate to that. And I think that this is what we try to do, to give everyone a feeling that this man or a woman on the other side is someone that reminds me of myself, reminds me of something that happened to me, reminds me of, of human beings.
You did say that your goal was to give an insight into the essence, the true essence of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And to my mind, it is, without giving any spoilers, the underlying theme here is really this endless cycle of violence that really no one is immune to on either side. Is this really the essence of the conflict for you?
The theme, yes. Definitely this is the theme of our Fauda, meaning the price, meaning the endless circle of violence, and that both sides are paying. Both sides, meaning Palestinians, Israelis, sometimes they're innocent, sometimes they're not. And sometimes even when they're not innocent, they're still paying a very heavy price. And sometimes even if you think that you just met the Satan has a wife and kid, and the wife and the kid of the Satan pays a very heavy price. And in it brings me, to all kinds of scenes that I've seen as a journalist, all kinds of experiences that you get to meet people, and the meeting itself is shocking you. It reminds me of a visit that I had in 2007 in an Israeli jail, and I've met with Hamas terrorists, Hamas's prisoners in the Israeli jail around 2007. They have a different department for Hamas, a different department for Fatah, and I was sitting inside.
They don't want
Hamas.
to kill each other.
Yes,
right?
yes. They're fine with with the Israeli prisoners' authority, but that they're not fine with each other.
And we know that some of them prefer to be in jail to be safe.
Yeah. But anyway, when I was sitting with them, at some point, I had a talk with a Hamas guy that I knew that he had Israeli blood on his hands. He killed Israelis. And you know what? At some point, for some reason, the whole conversation changed from what did you do to a kind of what did you miss at home? And then he started to whistle a song by Kulthum, Inta Umri. And the theme is like that. And we started to whistle together, and then we started to sing together this song. Ili shuftu abli machufa kainai umri dai, meaning everything that my eyes had seen before they had seen you was for vain. And at that point I was looking at him and I was suddenly thinking, this man is a murderer, he's killing Israelis, but who is the woman that he's missing right now? Who is he married to? Who was his girlfriend before he got to jail? And when you think about these seconds, these moments of, this is the devil, but the devil is missing someone, and he's in love with someone, or used to be in love with someone. And we try to bring that into Fauda.
I think it's very interesting that you raised this experience of music bringing you to this realization of the humanity of this person, because a big feature of the show is language. It's a bilingual show. It's very unusual for Israelis to watch a show in Arabic that is partly in Arabic. It opens up a whole world of questions. First of all, do you think that language can play that kind of bridging role, that people can say, if I learn the language of the other side, or maybe this show will make them more curious to learn the language of the other side, then they might have this kind of bridge of understanding?
I'm not that naive that, to think that this is a bridge. But it might be an eye-opening, a bit. After Fauda was aired, so many people started to learn Arabic. And many people ask us about where can I learn Arabic, where can I go and listen to Arabic music, blah, blah, blah. It didn't change the perspectives. It's not that Israelis suddenly liked Palestinians and Palestinians liked Israelis. But in a way, it kind of opened their hearts. And with Arabic especially, it's Lurat al-Adu, what we say in Arabic, the language of the enemy. And it's funny, there's a kind of dualistic way, the way the Israelis are dealing with this issue of Arabic. In one way, they like it. In one way, now Arab music is becoming more and more popular here in Israel. On the other side, they feel as if it's the enemy's language. Then again, when we had signs of promotion for Fauda in Arabic, people here in Israel got so panicked, sick panic, meaning that some mayors in Nesher, in Kiryat Gat, demanded to remove the signs, the billboard signs, because it was in Arabic in white letters over black screen. Why? Because some people thought it might be ISIS. And I'm thinking to myself...
it's a recruitment drive for ISIS in Kiryat Gat.
Yeah, in Kiryat Gat or in Kfar Yarok Junction, ISIS people came overnight and put some billboard signs in Arabic saying, join us, please join us. Like, what on earth were they thinking of?
But that's really the public, the audience. I'm more curious about the actors. How did recruitment go? The Israeli actors, did you have to teach them Arabic to play their parts?
Yes, and except for one guy, all of them, the Jewish Israeli actors, needed to learn Arabic.
Seriously?
And extremely convincing and fluent.
Yeah. Captain Ayub had to learn Arabic from the basics.
And he does all the talking.
Yeah.
So who's the one? Lioraz?
No. Tzachi Alevi is the only one that knows fluent Arabic.
Which character is that, just so we all know what we're talking about?
No,
right.
Yes.
But Lioraz spoke Arabic or knew Arabic from home somewhat, right?
Basic, very basic. He needed to learn more and more and more. So he had to have the perfect or almost the perfect Arabic. So, of course, for a Palestinian ear, they will understand that this is an undercover soldier. But at the end, this is a film and this is a TV show, so he had to have the best Arabic as possible, but we knew that it's not like 100%.
No, but I mean, it's perfect because even a tiny little slip-up in the plot creates a whole turn. Yes, no spoilers. It's just a moment that, every little single thing. But I think that's a very interesting point about society and how they interact with each other, because it's like, who can be the most convincing insider? right, from the perspective of the undercovers. And does it go in both directions, right? Because there's even a moment when the Palestinians try to look like insiders.
Yeah,
and speak like Israelis.
Like Jewish
Right.
Israeli settlers, and they have the perfect dialect or the perfect accent, and they know the slang words, and they know how to dress up with the right T-shirts, and where to put the kippah and where to put the talit. If you remember, there's a whole debate whether the talit should be inside or outside the shirt. So
They should have consulted with a rabbi.
No, and also how to speak. And he tells them, speak like them,
sababa.
right? Yeah.
Say sababa.
No, but that brings me to the other part of my question about the Palestinian actors.
Yeah.
I mean, how did
Arab, Israeli, Palestinians.
were they all Arab Israeli, and how easy was it to recruit them to either play terrorists or to play in a production that in the beginning probably didn't know whether it's going to be some sort of like Hasbara-ish whitewashing of the occupation?
It was pretty easy, meaning except for one actress or maybe two, everyone that we approached to, everyone that came, I mean, there were so many people that did auditioning at the end of the day. So we didn't really need to face here a big problem. I know that one or two people did make a kind of a fuss in the Facebook and saying this is a Zionist propaganda, la 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 la. But at the end of the day, I think that most of the actors that came understood that this is a professional experience. This is something that you need to be a good actor, not to have one ideological approach or the other one.
And they were Arab Israelis. How well did they know the reality in the Palestinian territories where the plot is set? Or did you, as the Jewish screenwriters,
You had to educate them about occupation.
educate them? Yeah.
Look, but then again, you have to ask yourself, like, who knows about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict? And someone that, lives in Jersey and calls himself a Palestinian and reads Arabic, does he know about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict? Or maybe a Jewish guy that travels a lot in the West Bank and speaks Arabic knows much better than the guy in New Jersey. So it's a kind of did I educate them? They
it's a
came
complexity
with their
of the-
education and knowledge. They came. I needed to say to them, guys, what you know is not real. Like, they had, one of them at least, the big actor, the big star of second season, El Makdisi, Firas Nassar. So he had a big
Sorry,
issue.
but I have to reveal that I have a little crush on him.
Yeah.
Listen,
The Heart-Throb.
Listen, I
Firas Nassar.
want to say something about this crush and about Fauda. We took a guy that is playing a guy that starts off with Hamas, but Hamas are not hardcore enough for him. So he crosses the lines and joins another terrorist organization more radical than Hamas. And he became a sex symbol in Israel. Just think about it. Just think about what Fauda did
Imale.
to a terrorist, so-called, that is so-called supportive of ISIS. And he became like Israeli Jewish women are totally crazy over El Makdisi.
But it's okay, they were all
He's
crazy for
now
Boaz in the first season.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's now in all of the TV for commercials and stuff. So
I think that the headline of this item should be "I married a terrorist." Anyway,
Wait. Apropos this question of the complexities of, the Palestinians splintering from one terror organization to another, I found it interesting. I mean, I was going to ask you, about the main character, Doron Kabilio, who is Leo Raz, who he plays his character. But it really is a question about both sides. Is Doron Kabilio a patriot? Is he a Zionist? Is he an Israeli nationalist? Because I find that in both sides, we're looking very much at the here and now. We don't hear typical narratives about who our long-term historic national memory are. Was that on purpose?
it's not really interesting. It's like the same criticism that I heard, you are not talking about occupation. Yes, you're not talking about occupation. You're not talking about the Israeli narrative. The Holocaust created this country, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? We're talking about here and now. We're talking about what's going on between the two people here and now in the West Bank and in Tel Aviv and in other places. So this is why we focus on not narratives and not historical speeches. And then again, it drives me crazy to listen to all kinds of people saying, listen, you don't have enough checkpoints. What do you mean about you don't have enough checkpoints? Like on the first episode of the first season, you have a checkpoint where they confiscate a car. Like, it's a terrible scene. They confiscate a car for someone who's totally innocent. And
there's a whole
no
humiliation.
occupation,
There's
and
the
yet the humiliation
scene.
and what's not. Like, so much of these terrible things. But of course, sometimes people are not fed up or not satisfied with this.
I guess I was thinking by contrast to another recent film, Foxtrot, which was also sort of not exactly, not nearly the same premise, but very much about people and human reality. But they had to go back into the long-term history of the family of Holocaust survivors and give that whole narrative as part of the background to who this boy in the army was. And it seems like a very different, rather conscious decision. So you're confirming that it's really, you almost consciously avoided that, which in a way, I might argue even makes it a little bit more universally appealing because people can watch it and they don't have to worry about whether they agree with this or that narrative. They can say, well, I can understand these very current situations.
Fauda is not even in the area of Foxtrot. Foxtrot is something totally different, It's not in the neighborhood, it's not in the region. It's an action thriller TV show. It's not something that of people being quiet and silent and nothing happens.
True, but I mean, there is a central figure who is in the army serving at a checkpoint, who is the main driver of the movie.
That's
but fair enough.
Subtle criticism there. Avi, you're not the first journalist turned writer that we've had on this show, and I'd like to ask you a question that we normally ask those journalists turned writers. After 18 years of covering the facts of the occupation, you turned to writing fiction about
not only the occupation,
about the conflict,
but the Middle East and the.
Is it just because you were bored with the facts? I mean, they stopped thrilling you?
No, not at all. I'm always thrilled with the facts. I'm always thrilled with reality. Not always, from time to time. But Friday night when something happens that I curse the whole world for, and every time that something happens, it has to be at 11 p.m. Friday. Like, why on earth couldn't you kill each other earlier that week?
No, because they want to get on primetime
on
news.
Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Come on, guys. No, they have to make it on weekends.
Why did you venture into fiction writing?
By accident. I became a journalist by accident. I became a scriptwriter by accident. So I'm a TV show creator, of cinema, whatever you want to call it, creator by accident.
That's funny because we're podcasters by accident.
Yeah, that's
so this was a new concept for you.
Yes.
Did you find it natural?
I loved it. I don't know if natural, because then again, I have this instinct of telling facts, reality. So telling fiction is a kind of awkward experience for me. But you find yourself suddenly thinking even more. You're suddenly thinking not about what Dalia is doing right now, but what could Dalia do if she wasn't doing that? So it's even more interesting about that. It's letting your imagine go wild. And it's a very nice experience, I must say.
How did you and Lior team up, and how did your partnership inform that process?
We know each other since I was 15, 16 in Jerusalem. We were both Jerusalemites. We grew up over there. We went to the same places, the same coffee shops, the same bars. So, yeah.
And how did the idea to write together come up? Or is it something that you planned for?
By accident.
Since the age of 15?
No.
One day we'll write a show, a blockbuster show that will be broadcast around the world.
We've met by accident one evening and we got bored and we started to talk between each other about our background and what we did and what we do, blah, 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 blah. And at some point, I asked Lior if he has a dream after his acting experiences and production experiences. And he said that he wants to write something about the undercover teams or undercover units. And I said that I want to write something about the Palestinians and about the undercover units. Blah, blah. And suddenly we found ourselves sharing almost the same dream. And we sat down in Tel Aviv.
Was he in charge of the Israeli part of the show and you were part of the Palestinian part of the show and kind of complemented each other? Or was it
not really. I mean, both of us are responsible for both sides. And then again, we're not alone. We had chief scriptwriters in first season, Moshe Zonder, in second season, Amir Mad. We had a scriptwriter editor, Sari Turgeman and Liora Kamnitsky. We have a scriptwriter that is working with us on the first, second, and third season. She's the only one that managed to stay with us and to stick with us for 3 seasons.
You guys drive a hard bargain.
And her name is Michal Aviram, and she's amazing. And we had to get the women's perspective, of course. So we had to have some women on board because both of us are not really
women, huh?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the other part of it we haven't mentioned, which is acting. I mean, Lior Raz plays this, the star role of the show, main character. And no spoilers, but there is a cameo somewhere. I'm not going to say where. Would you like to be more prominent in the acting side of it at some point?
I cannot. I mean, as you probably understand now, by doing the cameo episode of second season, it's not something that I can go back to as a different character. But just because of my long curly hair, I'm having my hair done in a barber
This is
shop.
radio. Nobody's going to know the truth.
I know. So
Yeah, they just have to watch
it's
the
my
second
blonde,
season.
long hair with the blue eyes. So yes.
I think we can't do any better than that for a wrap-up. That's Avi Issacharoff, together with writer and actor Lior Razi, is the co-creator of the hit series Fauda, coming to Netflix on May 24th. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you very much, and I'll hope that people would like the show.
I think they will, because every time I recommend it to
They already
somebody,
have.
they always say, "Oh my God, after you recommended it to me, I became a binge watcher."
And just as a closure, I'm bald. I'm completely bald. I mean, I'm shaved in my head.
Thank you also to Gizem Ozdemir, our sound engineer, and to Eitai Shalem, our producer. And now a request. Many or most of you listen to us on the Apple Podcasts app. And we'd like to ask you to please consider writing us a review. Just launch the app, select our podcast in the library section, scroll down to ratings and review, and press write a review, and then write one. You too can support us by going to our website, tlv1.fm/Tel Aviv Review, and subscribing on our Patreon campaign. We've got lots of fabulous gifts for you. Check out our archives with over 450 interviews. And if you like us, you can also like us on Facebook. Our page is called the Tel Aviv Review Podcast Ideas from Israel. Follow me and Gilad on Twitter. Join us again next week for another edition of the Tel Aviv Review. And until then, goodbye.